All right, today's video we are going to cover the reference sheet. This is going to be extremely important when you are working through proofs. So you can always come back and rewatch this. But your reference sheet is actually your sheet full of reasons. So a proof is made up of statements and reasons. These are going to be what goes in the reasons box. So anything from this sheet is valid to go in there. If it's not on this sheet, you can't write it as a reason. Statements are all the things that you are stating that you are proving. So if you're trying to prove triangles are congruent, our statement is going to say triangle congruent to triangle. These are the reasons we can choose from. So anything in this box is valid for you to choose why two triangles are congruent. So again, if it says triangle congruent to triangle, you can choose anything from this box. So these are your big five, those triangle congruencies we just got done learning. Your first one, side, side, side. You have three sides in one triangle, congruent to three sides in another triangle. And then side, side, side. Side, angle, side. If you have two sides congruent and the tract included angle, two sides included congruent and the included angle. Remember, included angle means tract. So you have two sides in the included angle, congruent to two sides in the included angle. You have side, angle, side. We also have angle, side, angle. So if you have two congruent angles and the included side congruent, remember included side means tract. We have angle, angle, side. So if you have two angles and a non-included side, so remember that side's tacked on like a tail on the end. And then your last one is hypotenuse leg. Remember that is only valid for right triangles. Your hypotenuse is across from that right angle, and your leg can be either of the other two sides. So again, if your statement reads triangle congruent to triangle, you can pick any of the reasons from this box, your big five, to fill into the reasons box. Your next statement could be reasons that your sides are congruent. So if you have sides that are congruent, you can pick anything from this box. So your statement would read side congruent to side. The first one is it's given to you. Every proof starts out with something that is given to you in order for you to kind of keep going in the process. Your next one is definition of midpoint. Remember that a midpoint is going to cut a segment in half, so it will create two congruent segments or two congruent sides. Your other one is the reflexive property. Remember we did this one? It's a side is congruent to itself. It's the same side in both of the triangles. That's your reflexive property. So not as many reasons for your sides. You also can have reasons why your angles are congruent. So if they say this angle is congruent to this angle, you can choose anything from this box. So angle congruent to angle. We're choosing anything from the blue box. So our number of options has increased significantly from angles to sides. The first one is it's given as well, so it can just tell you that they're congruent. Next one is vertical angles. Remember, those are angles that are across from each other on two intersecting lines. Those will always be congruent. You have three other ones. Alternate interior, alternate exterior, and corresponding. These have to involve parallel lines. If they don't have parallel lines, then we're not looking at those at all. And then your last one is a definition of angle bisector. Remember that a bisector will cut an angle in half, so it creates two congruent angles. All right, so on this page, there's a couple of things that I would like to point out about something I'll refer to when I'm doing this. Signal words. If you see definition of midpoint, that's a signal word. If you see parallel lines, that's a signal word. If you see bisector, that's a signal word. So there's signal words throughout your proofs that's going to prompt you to use certain reasons. If you see midpoint, you're probably using definition of midpoint. If you see parallel lines, you're using one of these three angle relationships. If you see angle bisector, you're going to use definition of angle bisector. So just watch out for words like midpoint, parallel, and angle bisector. That will prompt you to choose these reasons. The last one is going to be CPCTC. This is when you're going to prove parts are congruent. So parts means you're doing segments or you're doing angles. This can only be used once your triangles are congruent. If your triangles aren't congruent, you can't use this. So have to have congruent triangles for this. All right. So if they tell you that your triangles are congruent, here it is happening right here. We have congruent triangles. Then we can do everything else. So we went over this at the very beginning. Anything that sits in the same slot and the corresponding slot is congruent. So I could say that AB, since it's the first two letters, are congruent to DE because they're the first two letters. I could say that BC is congruent to EF because they are the last two letters. And I could say that AC is congruent to DF because they're the first and last letter. Alright? And then we can do that same with angles. So angle A is the first one. It's congruent to angle D because it's the first one. Angle B is the second one, so it is congruent to angle D because it is the second one. Oh, no, I lied. Angle E. And then your last one would be angle C, congruent to angle F because they are the last of the ones listed. All right, so those are all of your reasons you can choose from, and we'll dive into proofs later.